I'd like to say I arrived here on this rather charming little choo-choo train, but unfortunately that's not the case. As you can see, if you take a closer look, the little choo-choo train's no longer running and isn't really in very good condition. Bit sad, really. It's now been put into this little cage at the corner of a park, and obviously it's a bit worse for wear, because this is how it looked in 1975. I don't think it's had a fresh coat of paint since. Bit sad. Nonetheless, it's here. Built in 1949 at the Škoda plant in Czechoslovakia. First owned by Latvian Railway, and then it found its way here. Not too sure why it's been set aside, set apart for special attention, and then somewhat sadly become neglected. I'm going to take a walk up here where hopefully we'll find some more old trains at the railway station in Haapsalu. If you feel like coughing up €5 as an adult, you can buy a ticket for the Railway Museum. But for me, the interest isn't so much in the small interior. I'd much rather just be outside here, not only enjoying the fresh air, but enjoying the look of the actual old trains, which you can see for yourself just coming here and walking round. The train stopped running from Tallinn back in, I think, 1996 approximately, so it's been nearly 30 years with no train service. But the buses still run well enough, and I managed to get an online discounted ticket for €8 one way, hour and a half journey from Tallinn, and the bus pulls up right outside the train station. And there are several old trains on view. I'm going to take a good look round from all angles, I think, at each of them, because increasingly through time I've become a bit of not a train spotter, but a bit nerdy about trains, the old trains in particular. I'm relying on this little camera shooting into the sun a bit. I don't know if the pictures will come out very clearly. All the faded, flaking paintwork. That's a bit sad to see. No information boards that I can see so far giving any history on any of these wagons and engines. It does appear as though there's something going on down there, so I might just have to take a slight detour, crossing the tracks with care. And just in case you wondered how Haapsalu was spelt, we've got on the side of the building here Haapsalu, the site which must have greeted many visitors to the little seaside resort all those years ago. In its heyday, really, in the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th. Then First World War came along and things changed everything. We've still got some more trains to see. I did carefully put my nose into that little covered area over there, and it seems as though there is some renovation work going on, refurbishing of one particular old train. So maybe there is a program to bring these trains back up to their pristine best. It could be a shortage of funds, understandably, that's holding them back, or it could be just a shortage of the required skills. The standard Soviet Kushet car, Platskart, was built at the Leningrad Yegorov factory in 1940. 1997, it was transported from Tallinn to Haapsalu to be exhibited at the Estonian Railway Museum. Doesn't look like we can go inside, unfortunately, but no surprise really, and perhaps there's little to see inside the wagon anyway, as it was a basic passenger wagon. I'll just stick the camera up and see what that can pick up. Got a few bits of all sorts of machinery here. Not just the wagon trains, not just the engines. And my goodness, there's a piece of old hardware which is really in need of some TLC. Let's see if there's more information on this notice board here. So I think we are here. We're looking at the trains. I'm going to go up here and all the way up to the centre of the town to have a look at the castle, what remains of it. Hopefully over here, climb to the top of an observation tower which has a good view. Look at some statues and monuments, figures, busts along the promenade, through the garden, along the coastal promenade walkway, if I can say it right, up to Tchaikovsky's bench. And hiding behind the leaf, it suggests there is a bed. And there's also the Swedish Speakers Museum. Not sure if I'm really tempted to go as far as there, but we'll see. Here are some preview images of the castle, for example, from one angle. And what can be seen walking around the promenade. And also in the central, I was going to say square, but it's not really a central square here. This is a very small town. Does have the county museum, a former town hall, right there. Unfortunately, walking around these exhibits, the expression railway graveyard comes to mind. Can't help it, really. But that doesn't mean it's not without its own decaying beauty, if you know what I mean. Sometimes with buildings and old industrial sites, old rusting engines, trains, and I suppose cars as well. However tragic it can seem, they can also appear rather interesting to some of us at least. I suppose I should have posted a warning to say you might want to skip the first 10 minutes of this video unless you're interested in old decaying trains tucked behind a pretty handsome looking old train station. Anyway, I'm enjoying myself, and I know I'm supposed to be thinking about the viewers and what people watching the videos will be interested in, but hopefully you too will find some beauty in these old trains and rolling stock. Let's have a look around the other side of the train station, see if there's any more surprises. Really can't deny that this old train station is attractive. At least this has been maintained. And it's not quite as old as you might think. About 120 years. Clearly, it's been taken care of in recent times. I just wish this camera could do it justice. Although, you might get a sense of how attractive the building is. And I can't help wondering whether, back in those years before the First World War broke out, whether the Tsar, who was it, Nicholas II of all the Russias, whether he brought his family here by train from Leningrad and would have been greeted before being whisked away to somewhere special, the finest hotel or country lodgings available. But then, I don't know, I think if that had been the case, somebody would have put a plaque on this bench to say, here, Tsar Nicholas II of Russia rested his backside after a long journey from St. Petersburg, as it was called back then, and is again now, of course. The alternative, I suppose, was that the Romanov family used their pleasure steamer called the Standard, I believe. And perhaps they sailed from St. Petersburg, did a tour of the Gulf of Finland, and that brought them here. But I don't know. What have we got inside the building? We've got Wi-Fi, which is possibly what most people want. And we've got a Moomin. And we've got a request for €5 if you want to see the museum inside. We'll pick this up further down the road. But before we do pick it up further down the road, my attention's just been drawn to these MK buses, which I saw online being advertised, running a number of different routes. They were offering the cheapest fares by €1 or €3, so a bit of a saving to be made. But I just wanted to pinpoint the smaller of these buses. Probably if you're on the big bus, you'd be okay. But personally, on a smaller bus, depending on the route, I wouldn't feel comfortable on the smaller minibus, particularly going round roundabouts, things like that. Or if for any reason the driver's running late and puts his foot down. So just something worth bearing in mind if you are looking online at tickets and thinking, oh, maybe I'll take the MK bus because it's €5 rather than €8. I got the €8 ticket, which I mentioned earlier, which was a good deal, I felt. I knew the company was a good one as well. Lux Express sort of delivers what you'd expect. A little bit of looks. And the driver's so proud of his vehicle, he's taking a picture himself. Nice comfy bus, highly recommended. And I'll be taking it back to Tallinn later. So we've got to head towards the town centre. And something worth mentioning perhaps, just 100 yards away from the train station on the way towards the main centre of the town, there's the first of the supermarkets. So if you did forget to pick up some snacks or drinks before you got on the bus in Tallinn, then no worries. Open from 8 in the morning until 9 at night. This Rimi Mini should be your first port of call if you happen to be feeling a bit peckish on arrival. Some more pretty houses, and you can't say this isn't a nice, broad, clean, well-maintained high street. It really is attractive. Yeah, the town council's spending a bit of money in Haapsalu. It's nice to see. Let's hope the rest of it doesn't disappoint. Depends if the money ran out, I suppose. But let's see. I'm sure the centre won't disappoint, and certainly the castle ruins won't. Just feast your eyes on this gorgeous building. What a lovely choice of colours. Seems as though today it's become a museum. Sosuguni Mayu Tuselamus. Oh God, that must be so painful for an Estonian speaker to listen to. I'm just going to pop across this quiet street to the other side, and hopefully I can get a better view of this grand building. It's so handsome on the outside, I'm almost tempted to go in just because of the architecture. But I don't think I will, because I hadn't highlighted it as a museum to visit. If you want to check it out, there's a website, fannyhof.com. Villa Fannyhof. That's a name you won't forget in a hurry. And more handsome buildings, slightly less grand, on this side of the road. The street continues this way, but I just noticed out of the corner of my eye there's a possibility of a glimpse of the castle remains, which I want to have a look at just to see if it does offer an alternative perspective which might be overlooked otherwise. And indeed it does. We get a little view of what I'm assuming was the old moat, given the dip in the land here. Perhaps that's not very apparent on the camera. I don't know, but There's a definite dip in the land, which I'm taking for a trace of the old moat. I suppose it doesn't matter which way you approach this. Let's head up towards the gazebo and see what's just around the corner. Well now, what is just around the corner is this very nice view. Incline downward of the moat, which I supposed, and along here we see some rather attractive walls and towers. Oh, I think I need to get back a bit. Aha, and here's another much stronger indication of there having been a moat which ran round the castle. How to capture this, eh? It's a bit stunning. Well, that's telling you. Best to stay back from these 800-year-old walls. I think the castle actually took about 300 years to complete. Bit of an unfortunate timeline, really. Although it began in the 13th century, the building wasn't finished for 300 years. Clearly, it started small and was developed over the 300 years. And then along came the Livonian War, which unfortunately caused a lot of damage. So much damage that it wasn't seen fit or worthwhile to bother repairing the broken walls. And consequently, for the next couple of 100 years, unrepaired, the place really lacked its significance of being a defensive base for the Swedes. It lost its importance as a seat of local authority as well. So, in semi-ruins, it lay here, only for Tsar Peter of Russia, Peter the Great, to take control of northern Estonia and decide, okay, I've pushed the Swedes out, they've left this ruinous castle, let's knock some more of the walls down, shall we? So that's what he chose to do. I can't think why. I really can't think why he decided to do that. Yeah, this is what we've been left with. You might be able to pick up in the background that there is clearly ongoing maintenance work going on at the moment, unless they're doing some other project to do with fitting the inside of the chapel with new electricity wires or new drainage. But I'd like to think they're actually doing some work on perhaps restoring what has lain damaged and uncared for centuries. Here we can see the inside wall. Inside of the wall, another sharp descent, much sharper than on the outside actually. So if you made it over the moat, if you could get over the wall, you've got one heck of a incline to come down before then coming up, by which time you'll be met with more opposition, with spears and hammers and axes and swords and who knows what else. You can just imagine a battle going on here, can't you? They storm the castle and then, oh bugger, we drop down 20 metres and have to climb up another 20 metres. And they're just going to be hurling all kinds of crap down on us. And we're going to be exhausted before they have to actually draw breath. Or draw their swords, perhaps. Over here we have the chapel. Apparently the man responsible for Haapsalu becoming a town, the founder of the town, was a guy named Bishop Herman. I don't know if this is the same character who was the Bishop of Riga, who came here and began work on the cathedral and also the castle. I mean, it would be a likely scenario, you would think, but I'm often as wrong as I am right about piecing together these little clues to produce a clear understanding of what went on in history. This name Herman really does seem popular because we've got Pick Herman, the tall tower on Tumpia in Tallinn. We've got Herman's Castle here in Haapsalu, and the castle tower in Narva, facing across the Narva River to Russia, that was named Herman as well. So I don't know if just every German was called Herman, or whether Herman and German, the two words, got mixed up and sort of merged in time, or whether on each occasion there was a completely separate character called Herman who had some part to play in the history of these towers and castles. I did try and get to the bottom of this online, but you know, Wikipedia can only tell you so much. Visit Estonia.com, another very good website, can only tell you so much. Where can you find an expert on medieval Estonian history who speaks English and speaks simply enough and clearly enough for an idiot like me to be able to follow? I'm sure a character like that exists, and they would be able to just laugh at my foolishness and put me straight on all the different theories I've had. Little playground area for kiddies. And of course there'd be all sorts of historical reenactments going on here in peak season, I'm sure. It's good that these grounds are open slightly outside of peak season, and for the locals to be able to enjoy the recreational facilities. In peak season there are probably lots of people making somebody's disturbed the birds. There'll be lots of people roaming around the castle grounds in medieval costumes, and lots of stall holders selling medieval related souvenirs and produce for drinking and consuming. You can imagine the possibility to try archery for the first time, or watching a mock battle of knights on horseback down there perhaps, or on foot with swords. I don't know if the microphone is picking up all the bird calling at the moment, but I'm expecting to be splatted on at any moment. Interestingly enough, this has in recent decades become a site which is used as a venue for musical events as well. A few festivals and concerts take place here, Again, in the peak season, everywhere you go, particularly in Europe anyway, it seems every weekend, and often times weekdays as well, there's a whole handful of festivals going on in every place you visit. Spoilt for choice for festivals. And for all kinds of things as well. Festivals of stone cutting, jewellery making, traditional baking, fish salting, as well as all the other types of festivals you might more typically expect to find. Do I feel like taking a tumble down here? Better watch my step. And the time is 10 to 1. So the bus I took left at 10 in the morning, got here at 11:30, and it's taken me only, less than an hour and a half, an hour and 20 minutes to get here so far. And I am wondering what's down there through those doors and if they're open. There's a museum, of course, within the castle, and once again, you have to pay money if you want to go inside, which is sometimes the case, sometimes not the case. And for a lot of people, they'll think, God, you're tight with your money, you don't seem to pay for anything. Well, when you've been travelling for, I've been living like this for about 20 years, to be honest with you. You do come across an awful lot of places which you have to make a decision on whether you want to pay money to go inside and see more. And very often, places can be a little bit similar, you know. I'm sure people who aren't European come to Europe and get sick to death of churches and cathedrals and castles by the end of a 6-month extended stay, exploring around every historical site that European capitals have to offer, and other places as well. Europe is absolutely crammed with attractions, and as I'm not a millionaire, far from it, I have to make decisions. And not only that, because I encounter places which are free to enter, and I wouldn't say that means I just make a decision right there. Okay, if every other city I visit has museums and they're all free to enter, I'm not going to visit the museums where I have to pay. Full stop. I don't make decisions like that, but I do kind of. Oh, warning over here. Climbing walls is prohibited, so don't be tempted if you come here. I just get this feeling of sort of, oh, you know what, I can see another 13th century castle in Czech Republic or Slovakia or in Germany or Italy, and in some cases they may or may not be free. So, I think I'll give this one a miss, unless I read something good about what makes it worthwhile paying 5, 10, 15 euros to enter. We're going to get a little glimpse, I think, of what's inside of here. I have to say, it looks rather Spartan. I'm sure the door's locked, so I won't bother trying it. Set off all kinds of alarms. So we've got, what's that, a triptych of religious paintings. And some Pieces of flat stone broken up on the wall. Something else down there that I can't make out. I'm not drawn in. So, as I'm not drawn in, I will look around. But which way to go? Because there was a little door down here, wasn't there? But then I haven't been around the other side of the cathedral. So, oh well, just as well, I've got plenty of time. I was talking just now about the buses. And yeah, left Tallinn at 10, arrived here 11:30. It's now coming up for 1 o'clock. And the bus to take me back to Tallinn, costing, again, discounted price of €8 for an adult, such as myself. That one leaves at 4:15 in the afternoon, gets back to Tallinn 6 o'clock. I feel pretty good about that. So this point that we've reached here is called the Wall House, established in the 15th century. So a couple of hundred years after the commencement of building here. And to be honest, I keep looking back at the clock tower because what's here is negligible by the seams of things. Again, I say that and I'm doing it sort of tempting fate deliberately on this occasion, hoping that maybe, just maybe, by saying that, I will be slapped in the face with a wet fish and presented with something wonderful. And I'm not really. The pointer tower, which doesn't seem to point anymore, seems to have got lost through time. And an exterior wall. Okay, and this takes us back onto a street there. Okay, well, let's walk along the outside of the Bishop's Castle complex, whether it's Bishop Herman of Riga, as I'm supposing, or not. I think we'll be coming back this way through the centre of the town in any case, so we won't miss anything.